Have you ever been injured in an accident? I have, and it was the worst pain of my entire life. That paper cut was brutal, so I called Goshani Lee Law Firm because they are the best in the business. Now, they told me to stop being a baby and calling them so much, but if I ever had a real accident, that they could help me out. When you get hit by a car, your whole family feels the impact, but I've yet to find a cane that can support a family of 5. So if you need help, real help, then call the Golshani Lee Law Firm and let them take care of you today. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in once again to the dungeon of the Doctors of Doom, where I am your host, Alex the Shark Sparks. There was no pod last week. I was solo. My bad on that. But wait, what is this? Do you guys remember a while ago there was someone that said, "Look to my coming at first light on the 5th day at dawn. Look to the east, and he's here. It's Mitch, the Resurrection Black, to be my co-host. And not only that, special guest on the pod today, Miles Baby Bro Black. Boys, say hello to all the Delvers out there, gentlemen.
Hello.
Hello.
Classic hello. We haven't seen that in a while. Now, Miles, you're in your 30s now, but I think the last time Mitch was on the show, you were still in diapers. So, guys, how's it feel to be back?
An Avenger is never late, nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to.
Yeah. And to your credit, you were on time today. You were even early today. But, yeah, for real, though, welcome in. It's been a hot minute. I think it's been about a month, maybe over a month, actually, since Mitch was on the pod. Mitch and I were going to do one last week, to his credit, but we both just kind of like, between him having other stuff going on and me having a hard out, we were only going to be able to record for like 35 minutes, and we decided we'll just do a full-length one this week. So sorry there's no pod last week. There's a ton to talk about, guys. We have had NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, College World Series, Softball World Series. There's some golf news that Chris was going to text me but never did. Sorry, I don't cover the golf action myself. NFL, a couple of big trades happened this week. So there's a ton to talk about. But Miles, you're the guest. Mitch, you're the guy who hadn't been here for a while and has a ton to say. So I'm going to defer to you, gentlemen. One of you take it away. What do you want to talk about first? We'll cover it all, but we'll let you guys start it off.
I don't really mind. Whatever. We could do basketball. I don't care. We could talk about whatever. You have anything, Miles, in mind?
No, I'm ready.
Oh, and also soccer. Forgot to talk about that. Champions League. I mean, yeah, Mitch, you haven't, joking aside about Miles being in diapers, you haven't been on the pod, I think, since April 18th. So it's been a month and a half. You've got to have a hot take you've been sitting on for the last 45 days that you got to get off your chest.
No, I mean, I've been following the Rogers news pretty closely. No, I'm just kidding. I have hot takes on everything. I just don't know how to get it started. My Cavs Thunder prediction before the playoffs has not aged very well at all. I don't know. We could go to the obvious football news. We do have a lot of fantasy listeners out there, but uh, do you think there's anything to you think Aaron Donald might actually come back?
Okay, so we'll preface this. So all right, so we'll go into football. I do want to comment about your Cavs take though. I do have a meme that's 2026 NBA playoff banner, and the banner is a Cavs banner that just says Taylor Swift came to one of our games. That's what they're hanging in the rafters. Okay, yeah. So NFL news, couple of big news things that happened, but we'll start with what I think is smoke, not fire. Aaron Donald, the former All-Pro, Pro Bowl defensive lineman for the Rams, who retired 2 years ago, it's been 2 years, reached out to Pat McAfee and said that some recent news had him thinking about coming back. So, do you gentlemen think, A, there's any truth to that he's actually considering coming back, and B, if he did, would he actually be an impact player? Because, yeah, he did retire kind of on top. He was still a great player when he retired, but he hadn't played the game in 2 years, and that's a long time to not play the game.
Go ahead.
No, go.
I've been listening to a couple podcasts. Dan Patrick, Rich Eisen,
And of course, the dungeon with the Doctors of
and the
Doom.
dungeon, of course,
Yeah.
of course. But they had some insights about Aaron Donald. He released a recent social media post about him potentially coming back. There was a hint I would say in the tonality that is a possibility, but in terms of a probability, I would put it on the low end side. He's been very adamant about staying in the league for a short amount of time, the eighth year, and then in his 8 year, he actually won a Super Bowl. I didn't see a need. And he's like, "Oh, that urge of winning another has always been in the back of my mind, back of his mind." So I don't know if this is just one of those plays that the Rams and the GM office is to be like, "Hey, we'll let you dictate when you want to come back, how many games you want to play, when you want to contribute, because obviously he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. We've done all of these things on the defensive end. We're ready to win now if you want to be a part of it." So I think they intentionally did that for Aaron Donald because rumor has it Sean McVay's always been texting Aaron Donald since his post-retirement.
Just for some context, Lane Johnson's 36, Travis Kelce's 36, Trent Williams 37, Cam Hayward 37, Demario Davis 37, Levante David 36. So there are impactful players above the age of 35. I think the one thing that got my attention is someone was saying I don't know if this is true or not, but they're working out a contract just to do home games. So
Yeah, rumors.
he's only gonna have to do 8 home games, never leave Los Angeles. And oh, by the way, the Super Bowl's in Los Angeles this year, so it's like, and if they get a first round bye, he only has to leave the whole year, one game to travel on the road. So that's assuming a lot, but yeah, I thought that was very interesting. And the other interesting thing to me is like he's never not been the focal point of being doubled or tripled by offenses. And it's like, well, if you have Myles Garrett, you can't double both of those guys. So we might see, even though he's a lesser version of himself, we might see the most free version of himself. I don't know. It's all speculation, but looks like the Rams are definitely trying to. I mean, I had the odds up real quick. Odds for win NFL Super Bowl. I don't know why I just closed out, but I was going to name you guys the top 5 teams. Would you take any of these teams over the Rams if you had to bet right now? Let's just pretend they're all the same odds. Rams are 1, Bills 2, Ravens 3, Seahawks 4, Chiefs 5, Patriots 6. Any of those 5 other teams would you take, do you like above the Rams right now?
I think the only one that you could realistically put above the Rams would be the Seahawks, just based on the fact that they beat them last time they played in the
Right.
playoffs.
And the score of the last 2 games they played was like 38-31, and the other one was like 35-31. So it's like maybe if you could just stop the Seahawks 1 or 2 more possessions, you could probably be in a Super Bowl this upcoming year. So, but we've seen before whenever you have these Eagles super teams or whatever, with the what was it, the Mike Vick days or whatever, these a lot of these teams don't pan out the way they're supposed to, but we'll see.
I'm going to say that no, none of the teams as of today have above the Rams, including the Seahawks. If you look at last year, the Rams defense, their secondary was the reason why. And a couple, obviously, their special teams hurt them in a couple of games as well for losing that
Yeah.
first round bye. But they addressed the issues that they needed to beat the Seahawks last year with their secondary. They upgraded with McDuffie. They also signed the other Chiefs cornerback that left and departed. They
Sure.
they brought in draft capital on the defensive side, and obviously,
So the Rams are playing the Seahawks in the NFC Championship right now, Miles. Who are you taking?
I take the Rams. I took the Rams last year, and again, they were literally one Matthew Stafford overthrown play to get into the end zone. Matthew
Okay, well
Stafford.
then, but
So
that's also if you want to play. Yeah, I like that kind of stuff. But then, like my ask to you two both is like, well, one, first of all, sidetrack. Why aren't the Broncos in those rankings? The Broncos were one QB injury away from winning the Super Bowl last year, in my opinion.
Out of sight, out of
But
mind, to answer your
yeah,
question.
yeah, that might be true. So, I guess. Yeah, I guess we'll just let the season play out. There's no reason to delve on it too much right now.
yeah, it's still only June.
Yeah.
Once we get to training camps and OTAs, when we start seeing injuries and
It's
roster
fascinating their
submissions.
draft strategies over the last decade because I think I sent to the group chat like they have not had a first round pick in a decade, right?
Correct.
So then they use it on a quarterback and then instantly trade away next year's first pick for Miles Garrett. It's like they are the opposite of what I do in my franchise modes when I play video games, just throwing it out there. They're that computer that's going crazy, and I'm like, why is the Rams AI broken in my franchise mode?
Because they have confident players to draft. They no matter where they draft selections, like Puka, a couple of their players on defense that are studs, they draft him in the second, the third, the fourth rounds. Like who they draft, McVay and that system, they get the best out of those players. So when people talk about who won the trade between Cleveland and the Rams, they both won, but in my opinion, the Rams got the heavy favorite because they have the best defensive player in the league on their team right now
Right.
to a team that was already a good defense.
Well,
They
we
were
haven't
just missing.
we haven't talked about that trade yet, so let me finish the Aaron Donald take, then we'll get to that trade. So, yeah, I kind of agree with what I think it was Miles was saying that I don't think they're going to do the home game contract. I don't see that being a realistic thing, but I can absolutely seeing it be a thing where he's going to start working out, trying to get back into playing shape. He'll be working out all season, and then once they get towards the end of the season, if he thinks they have a good chance to win and he's going to help them and they think he'll help them, then he would sign at that point. That way he didn't have to play the whole season. It gives him time to get back into playing shape, and then he can come in just try to make a run at a title instead of having to do the entire grind. I think it's more of that situation than it would be anything else. But I also don't know that I believe it will really happen. But that would be my take on it. Because
I mean, if you're benching 190 dumbbells in the gym, he's
Yeah,
still
he's ridiculous. The way he
he's
works
ridiculous.
out, though,
I'm
might
not-
not translate to
I'm
the
not
field
saying he's not in
miles.
shape. I'm not saying he's not in
I
shape,
know.
guys. But there's a difference between being in shape and playing at game speed. They're different things. Any player will tell you that. You talk about there are older players that do well in the league. There absolutely are, and I would have no doubt that he would be one of them if he had played the last 2 years. But he took 2 years off. How many times do we see where a player takes time off and they come back and they're a shell of their former selves? At least at first, they at least need some time to ramp up.
I
And
would
Does
I would agree with that statement if it's a skill position. Since this is the defensive line position and he's already a Hall of Famer, I don't see that he would be too much rust of him coming back versus if he was like, for example, Beckham Jr. coming back off of a year taking off going to a skill position or a DB position, then yeah, I would slightly agree more on that stance. But he's going back on the line.
For me, Alex and Miles, I'm always bringing it back to fantasy. Does Miles Garrett affect any fantasy players on the Browns or the Rams?
Oh,
well,
100%.
so again, we're talking about Aaron Donald. So since you guys really want to talk about Miles Garrett, we'll go ahead and get to that one.
Sorry, I'm just saying the trade with Miles Garrett and
Yeah,
Aaron
so
Donald. Sorry, I
the
was kind of
reason this
grouping it. I
Aaron Donald
apologize.
conversation even started was
Was because
because
of Miles Garrett. Yeah, sorry.
the Rams went out and made a trade with the Browns because the Browns are just looking for ways to get worse anytime they can. And they traded away Miles Garrett, who's considered to be one of, if not the best defensive player in football.
Oh, he is.
So they traded him to the Rams and only got one first round pick out of the deal, which is hilarious. It was a first, a second, and a third, and a rookie contract, basically, for Javon.
And Alex, what pick is that first round pick going to be next year? Assuming the Rams are in the NFC Championship
Yeah,
again.
it's not going to be a high pick. It's going to be
Yeah.
25 plus. So,
25 plus.
so anyway, now you can talk about the
Well, my
basically the
que-
Rams
bring
made
the-
an all-in move, right? So
Yeah.
you talk about how they keep trading other draft picks. This is an all-in move by the Rams. They're trading away draft picks again because they're like, hey, we don't know how much time Stafford has left, which is seen by the start of last year. We didn't even know if he'd play. And then the
Yeah.
offseason, they went and drafted a quarterback, which obviously thought that was a crazy move. So they don't know how much longer they have with Stafford, but they know while they have him there, they've got a real shot to win a title. And so they're going all in with this trade. So I get that. But anyway, now you can ask your question now that we've prefaced what we're talking about.
My question is, does Miles Garrett affect any fantasy players for the Browns or the Rams? And piggyback on that, if Aaron Donald comes back as well and the Rams have both those defensive players, does that hurt Stafford? Or I'll just pose the question, does any fantasy players take a hit or a gain?
Oh, definitely a gain for the Rams for the backfield for Corum and Kyron. Also, you're going to get, I don't know. I mean, I don't think Matthew Stafford's going to be number one QB like he did last year, but he did support two top 12 wide receivers. But that was on the precedence because of horrible mistakes on special teams, because their special teams costed him 3 games last year from the first round bye. And also their defense costed him big yards, which Matthew Stafford had to put up more. Matthew Stafford can do it again, but with the system in place, why would he if they're going to be up most of the games now, theoretically, with that defense just giving them more possessions? So I'm more curious to see what they're going to do off of those red zone conversions because last year, years before Devontae Adams came in, it was always we're going to run it in. That's why Kyron was always a 10, 15 plus TD guy, and he was always drafted high. Last year that fell off because it was more of a split committee back with Corum. And then two, Devontae Adams took all the 5-yard touchdowns away because they're trying to
He
put the
did.
ball in. So you're telling me Miles Garrett with the better defensive backs and more offensive opportunities will that equate to red zone touchdowns for Stafford, or would that mean more increased volume for the running backs? That
So
is,
you think Stafford could take a hit because the type of games aren't going to be 38-31 as much with that defense being better?
I still think they're going to put up 25 plus points. They're going to
Right,
get more
but
opportunities. It's just who is Stafford going to give the ball to? Is
you
it going
might
to
be able
be
to win one week
yeah,
21-10 or something like that instead of
correct?
I got you.
And then from there,
Alex?
it's like, hey, we have two elite running backs. Like Corum took a huge step forward from his previous year, rookie year, and it's gained McVay's confidence and Stafford's confidence. So if you have Kyron, who's Mr. Guaranteed Vision, he's not the best running back. He's not a tier one running back in terms of talent, but his vision is superior to a lot of running backs in the league. I don't see why they wouldn't just force the ball by running it.
Sure. Alex, same question.
I mean, I'll take the Browns side of it since you already talked about that side of it. I think the Browns will have to pass the ball more, kind of for the same reason. Their defense kept them in a lot of games last year. Well, not really. I mean, they still suck, but like their defense was amazing, and it made it where hey, we only need like 3 field goals to win. Well, now they're going to need more than 3 field goals to win. So I think this might be an opportunity for more passing out of Shador or any of the other 7 quarterbacks, Deshaun Watson, whoever ends up being the guy there. I don't think it's going to be necessarily fantasy relevant because the Browns suck, but in the unlikely event there is a Browns pass catcher that actually is any good, I think they could be seeing an increase in volume, which potentially would help their fantasy value. I don't know who that's going to be because I don't know who the Browns quarterback's going to be, who their number one pass catcher is going to be. There's too many question marks there, but I do think the Browns defense getting worse can result in them throwing the ball more times to somebody. There's got to be somebody that catches passes. I just don't know who it's going to be.
The Browns are maybe not going to ever be able to play with a lead. They're going to
Yeah.
always be willing to throw. I agree, Alex. Well,
I'm so nervous about the Browns offense. Like
no, I
I
think
like
Shador is
I,
fine.
I like Judkins a lot, but in terms of their wide receivers, I'm just looking at the fantasy website that I like to look at for pre-rankings. Casey kept Casey Concepcion is currently their highest rated wide receiver,
Oh
and
no.
on being drafted in redraft leagues, and he's at ADP in like sleeper ESPN is going in the 12th round.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Whoever can call the wide receiver. I mean, this has kind of been the story for Alex and I talk about for years now, and even Vinny's like, "Can you correctly call the correct wide receiver in Cleveland?" Because it's like, is it Judy? Was it the other guy? Alex, I think drafted the
Tillman.
third guy,
Yeah.
the third guy last year, Tillman. Yeah, and it ended up being so like that. That's going to be another scenario going forward for next month or so or 2 months that we'll talk about. But can I transition into the next question that I have for both of you?
Yeah, go for it.
Does the next recent trade news of AJ Brown to the Patriots, and in fear of Alex having to
Well,
cut out
hold on,
parts of our
Mitch.
podcast?
Let us finish talking about the the Miles Garrett trade, and then you can ask a question about the
I
other
figured
trade.
we were done. I figured we were
But yeah,
done
we
with the
haven't even
Miles
told
trade.
people about the trade yet. You got to understand, we are a show here, Mitch. We have to tell people about the trade before we ask for info
Assume
on
they've
the
never
am-
heard the
I
news, and this is
apologize.
our first news of getting
I just have
the
too much
review.
high thoughts of our audience that they are already educated in the trade. I just figured.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's still worth presenting it like a proper podcast, Mitch. All right. We had to start the show with an ad read for God's sakes. We may as well
That's
be
true.
professionals here.
Okay, well, do you guys
so
who won the trade?
So hold on? Does anyone here have any other thoughts on the Miles Garrett trade before I do
I,
this?
I mean, to sum it up, that the Rams made a great move. I know
I,
Jared Verse is talented, but that's just
I,
one
I,
one sentence less. Amazing for them.
yeah, I'll say one. I'll say that in my opinion, I think the Rams won on this trade.
Okay, yeah, I think most people would have that consensus. Okay, so the next thing is for anyone who is a fan of football, you've known for months that AJ Brown was going to be traded to the Patriots. There have been so many stories about, oh, well, maybe this team's getting involved, maybe that team's getting involved. Even recently, there was maybe Devontae Adams will get shipped off and they'll bring him to LA for the Rams. No, he was traded to the Patriots this week, just like everyone thought he would be. Now you can ask your question, Mitch.
In fear of Alex having to cut out part of the podcast, I will refrain from my AJ Brown analysis. I'll really leave it up to you guys. One, it's the same thing as like the Miles Garrett. Two, but both teams. How does this affect the Eagles fantasy? Who gets affected the most on the Eagles fantasy? And then I would like to, after you guys answer that question, I would like to see where you rank AJ Brown. Just, for fun right now. It doesn't have to be serious. I'm not going to hold this to you in 2 months, but like, where in the top 12, or if he's even in your top 12 where he is. But we'll start with who on the Eagles do you think is most affected fantasy wise?
Devontae Smith.
Do you think he becomes the number one?
Yes, by a landslide.
Wow.
You want to say anything else, Miles? If not, I'll just give my answer.
I can go on. I
mean,
think
usually we have maybe like at least a sentence or two giving details of why.
I mean, yes, I could go on.
He had a lot of sentences on Miles Garrett. I said he didn't give a shit about this.
So overall, if you look at the strength of schedule going projection into the NFL season, Philadelphia Eagles strength of schedule for wide receivers for the first 5 weeks is the easiest. They play Washington, Tennessee, Chicago, which was their weak point last year, was their secondary. The Rams, which they improved, so that would be an interesting one. And then Jacksonville. Again, one of their weaknesses last year, Jacksonville was just secondary. But overall, you're looking at the first 5 weeks where Devontae Smith could be easily a top 5 wide receiver based on that strength of schedule there. That alone with him, with A.J. Brown out, they had obviously Lemon that's coming in, who's going to be an elite wide receiver. That's why everyone's saying like, well, why didn't the Rams draft him? They should have drafted him over Simpson, the quarterback, because Lemon's a game changer. But Devontae Smith route running, his hands, he's everything that could be easily a wide receiver one on another team. It's just always been the number 2 behind A.J. Brown in that system. So I think the biggest step for fantasy value for Eagles, if you want to take a big shot, because where's Devontae Smith right now? He is projected 5th round, late 5th round, 6th round wide receiver that has the potential to be a top 5 in your first month. That to me is a huge value steal right
So,
now.
Miles, I agree with you, but I think over the next month and a half, Devontae's going to climb and climb and climb in the ADP. So I'm going to have to. Devontae Smith is currently ranked at 15 right now.
Yeah, 15 is on the list I have too.
Yeah, above him is Emeka Buka, and below him is McMillan and Zay Flowers.
Higgins, yeah.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I think he'll climb and climb. But anyone else?
Yeah, so my answer to your question is the biggest fantasy impact is Jalen Hurts takes a massive hit.
I agree.
Jalen
Alex,
Hurts
totally.
is not a passer. That's just not what he is.
Agreed.
But you know what you can do when you have a tall, athletic receiver who beats
Just
everybody
throw it up.
in a 1v1? You just throw it up downfield. And that's all A.J. Brown and the Eagles did. They threw it up downfield to A.J. Brown. He made the play. It made them look better. It got them a ton of yards. Even his last 2 seasons, which were not as good as his first 2 with the Eagles, he still averaged 16 yards a carry in their 16 yards a reception in their Super Bowl run year. You know, he missed a few games. That's why his total yardage was down. Last year in his worst season, he still averaged 13 yards per reception. So this is a guy who is a great downfield threat and can win and when Jalen just throws up the ball. And that makes it where you don't have to stack the box. You can stack the box a lot easier if there's no downfield threat. The Eagles are a running football team that struggled to run the ball last year, and now they're going to struggle even more. So I think Jalen Hurts takes the biggest hit here.
Yeah,
Because yes, they did draft Malachi Lemon, but Malachi Lemon, guys, is not as tall as me. He's 5'10". Okay,
it depends on
that
how
guy's
much
not going to
Malachi.
replace
Yeah.
AJ Brown.
Yeah, I think they only need the ability to replace a part of AJ Brown's game, is what I forget who I was podcast I was listening to, but they just need him to be able to, AKA, take the top off, blah blah blah, whatever cliche you want to throw in there. I agree,
But the
yeah,
problem
I
is he's
think
as tall as a cornerback, whereas AJ Brown had.
I
6 inches on a
100% agree
quarterback.
with you though, Alex. There's so many plays. I know Vinny could attest to this. Like, there's so many plays where he just threw a sideline fade up in the air to AJ Brown, even on 4th and 1s. Like, there was multiple times when they did that and it worked. They're not going to have that. I think a team that already pass attempts league lowest 32 times. A 32nd in attempts 2 years ago and 31st. Like, this has got disaster written all for it. But
I agree with that sentiment too. If you look at the stats in the standard league, 6 point, obviously, he ranked 10 last year and 9. And this is including off a season where he got 8 rushing touchdowns last year and then 14 the year before that. He's consistently at like 64, 65% passing with only getting about 3,100 yards on an average. So that's not
sure.
good enough. And without AJ Brown with that
I think
size,
Alex, or I don't want to put words
yeah.
in Alex's mouth, but I think what I'm trying to say, Miles, is not that Devontae Smith isn't a tier one talent. It's the system and his quarterback that we're more worried about, and Hurts as opposed to Devontae Smith just assuming a number one role on a type of team.
Someone's got to score in that offense, and they have a favorable schedule
They
this year.
don't though. They have a good defense, and yeah, so that's interesting. Well, hear this. If let me ask you this: the draft's coming up, and it's your pick, and these are the best available wide receivers right now. Emeka Ibuka, Chris Olave, or Devontae Smith? Who are you taking?
I would take a Buka, even though he felt faded down the stretch last year. Now that Mike Evans is gone, I would take a Buka.
I would take Olave
Smith
and
would be
Ibuka.
third, but yeah, Smith would be
Yeah.
third on that list. Is what you're.
I would go Buka, Smith, Olave.
Wow. Who would you take over, Smith or Higgins?
I would take. Oof.
There's no way it's not Higgins.
I would take
is
Higgins.
Higgins still a Bengal as of right now?
Yes.
Then yeah, I'd take Higgins.
I would take Higgins.
Smith or Tedero McMillan?
Tedderone and
Give me
McMillan.
Ted.
Smith or Garrett Wilson?
Okay, give me Smith.
Okay.
Oh, I might actually take Garrett Wilson on this one only because there's been positive reports with Wright's system giving more freedom to the wide receivers, and for once, we might
Smith
actually
or
be
Zay
breaking.
Flowers?
Hold on, I will to comment on what Miles said. I will say it depends on what I need. Like if I needed to hit on a number two, like I needed someone who was gonna like give me really good production, I would go for the Wilson for the ceiling. But if I
Upside,
just
yeah.
needed a steady, like this is my third string guy. I need him to be able to slot in and get me 6-7 fantasy points. I would go
Yeah.
with Devontae.
Okay, well then
the thing
that's good to
is
know.
though, Ibuka, Smith, right now we'll wait in a couple months, but right now they're about almost 2 rounds later than Garrett
That's what I was just gonna
Wilson,
say.
Zay
I was just gonna say.
Flowers,
Now it's good
T.
to know that
Higgins.
Alex is not gonna have Devontae Smith in any leagues based off that analysis, because Devontae Smith is gonna go 2 rounds before those other guys
Well,
I just named.
I'm not high on Jalen Hurts, as you heard. And
Yeah.
again, the reason that AJ Brown was so good was because of his skill set. Devonta
Agreed.
Smith doesn't have that skill set. I'm not saying Devonta Smith's not a good player. He's a Heisman Trophy winner. I'm not knocking
Right.
Devonta Smith. I'm just saying that he is not the same build. And the person they're bringing in to replace AJ Brown, their first round draft pick, Malachi Lemon,
opposite.
is 5'10". That is not tall. I'm not knocking. Look, you can be a short king, all right? I'm not 6 feet either. I'm 5'11". I'm not knocking people for being short. But in the NFL, when you're the same height as the corner, it's no longer about you being taller and jumping up and making the play. It's about you must get open with your speed and have an accurate pass to get to you. That's not going to happen because his quarterback doesn't throw accurate passes.
I know in our standard league, its reception don't matter, but I don't see how Devontae Smith doesn't get at least 10 targets a week. I just don't see it. I
They just
see
don't
him
throw
getting.
that enough. All right, we can move on. Let's move on to the other side. AJ Brown. Where, okay, right now, this is the current ADP. I know it's June, so forgive me, guys, but this is the ADP of wide receivers right
So,
now.
apologies to everyone watching on YouTube. I've had like a bunch of things going on that I've been showing you guys and realized it's on the wrong screen, so you didn't see any of it. So my bad.
All good. Where would you put AJ Brown? Stop me when you want me to stop. So like
In a
obviously,
tier or in rank?
no, just say okay. So I'm gonna start naming guys, and then say stop when you would draft AJ Brown over this player. So I'm gonna start with Jackson Smith and Jigba. He's number one overall, ADP number one. I doubt you're taking AJ over him, right? So you don't say stop. So I'll just keep going, right? So JSN's one, Puka Nakua's two, Drake London's three, Neighbors is four.
I mean, I'll
Jamar-
say, hold on. I'll say stop. I would. I'm not saying I would take him third overall, but I would take him over Drake London based on
Oh,
how last
really?
year went with his
No,
quarterback.
I would take Drake London over AJ Brown.
Okay, what
Again, I'm
about
not
Nate?
putting AJ third. I'm just saying over Drake London just because of.
I would
Gotcha.
take
So
it.
let's take out Drake London for Alex. 'Cause do you put him over Neighbors, Alex? Because Neighbors is four.
No, Neighbors hosed me last year, but no.
Chase five. Amon St. Brown six. Rasheed Rice seven. George Pickens eight.
Might do it over Rasheed Rice because he may be in prison.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Okay,
Rasheed Rice might not be on the field.
Let's
That's other
say
news,
he's
by the way. I don't know
playing.
if we ever covered that, but Rasheed Rice is literally in jail right now.
So
Yeah.
let's say he's playing.
Like, not an exaggeration. He's He is in a
If
penitentiary.
if Rashee Rice is playing and if he's not going to have another year of limbo where he's going to be in jail or not or suspended, whoever not, Rashee Rice will rise in his value because right
Okay, what
now
about, did we say Pickens? Did I say
You
Pickens?
did say
you did.
Pickens.
I would
Okay,
take Pickens
so
over Brown.
okay, you both think Pickens. Okay, so next comes Nico Collins, and then next comes Olave,
I would take Brown over Olave.
and then comes AJ Brown. So it's right there, right after Olave. He's currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. He's currently 13, AJ Brown. Is he correctly? And then after him becomes Terry McLaurin, T. Higgins, Jamison Williams.
Justin
Why is
Jefferson.
CeeDee Lamb so low right now? I didn't
Justin,
realize
yeah.
that. So let's
CD's Lamb too, is low as well. Is also
why
Justin
is Lamb
Jefferson
so
low.
low right now? There's something I'm missing, but let's pretend
Because
Lamb's
of how
above
much
it.
rapport Pickens picked up last year. Like,
Lambs is being drafted. I know it's June, guys. Forgive me, but he's being drafted after McLaurin and Olave. That's wild to me. So knowing that now, is AJ Brown correctly ranked or
Overvalued.
or overvalued or undervalued?
so here's my take. So I hate saying this, but the real answer is I don't know. But let me give you the reasoning why I don't know.
Sure.
When you look at Matthew Stafford, you know he's going to throw the ball to Puka Nacua. When you look at Jared Goff, you know he's going to throw the ball to Amon-Ra St. Brown. When you look at Dak, you know he's going to throw to CeeDee Lamb. When CeeDee Lamb got hurt, you knew he was going to throw to Pickens. We'll skip Drake May for a second. When you look at Sam Darnold, you know he's going to throw to JSN. When you have, and these are like all the quarterbacks that threw for over 4,000 yards, right? When you have the big passers that throw for big numbers, they have their guy that they want to throw the ball to. Drake May threw for 4,400 yards, fourth in passing last year. You didn't know who he was going to throw it to. Every week was somebody different. There were guys
Hunter
that
Henry.
had 300-yard games that also had 3 7-yard games on his team because you just didn't know. Instead of having this is my guy, he just threw the open wide receiver, which is great from a team standpoint. Just finding the guy who's open. I don't care who the playmaker is. Whoever's open, I'm getting them the ball. They're going to make the play. That's a great attitude to not have tunnel vision, especially as a young QB. It's very impressive. However, that's
good
not
for
great
AJ
if you're AJ Brown. If you're AJ Brown, you want him to be like, hey, you're my guy. I'm feeding you the rock.
So he should have gone to the Dolphins.
Well, no. So what I'm saying is, did Drake May spread the ball around because he didn't have a guy who he thought could be the guy, and now that he
Right.
does, he will feed the
can-
rock to AJ Brown?
That's what
Or
I'm afraid
is
of.
that just who Drake May is, and he doesn't? So if Drake May is like, I finally have a good receiver, I'm going to feed him the rock. AJ Brown, as long as he stays healthy, is a top 5 wide receiver for me. But if Drake May says, no, I'm just going to keep spreading around, then AJ Brown is a top 15 wide receiver.
Yeah, Alex, I'm gonna have to side with option one here because it's like, do you think AJ Brown would have signed with the Patriots without a verbal commitment that, hey, we're gonna give you 10 targets a game? He'd probably be like, nope, I'm gonna go try somewhere else. You know what I mean? So like, I feel like there has to be some kind of committed effort by a front office staff that we're going to game plan 10 targets for you in the first half alone. You know what I mean? Like, and then AJ Brown's like, all right, where do I sign? So that's what I'm most nervous of is like my hate for AJ Brown. I don't want it to overshadow my love of winning in fantasy football. So I want it to, you know what I mean? I'm very nervous that AJ Brown is going to be the number one fantasy wide receiver, especially for the first like 6 weeks of the season.
But here's the thing,
So,
Mitch, I get what you're saying, but
yeah,
it's one thing to tell someone something in a negotiation, and it's another thing to actually follow through on it. That's not something that goes in the contract, right? In the
right.
contract, they have to pay him X million of dollars. In the contract, he has to play X number of games to get those X million of dollars. Those are all things in writing they've agreed to that has to happen. Them saying, we're going to game script for you, we're going to game plan for you, we're going to feed you the rock, you're going to be our number one guy, that's all fluff, right? That it may have been true. They may have really thought that. That may have been well intentioned, but then they get out there and like all of a sudden Ramondre
He's
is
triple
having an amazing
teamed.
season running the ball. Drake May running the option out of the backfield and then throwing it to a scat back or throwing to the tight ends is moving the ball up and down the field. Their defense is so good they just need to run out the clock, and all of a sudden we don't need AJ Brown, right? Or hey, AJ Brown's getting double covered and Timmy over here on the far left is wide open every play. I'm throwing it to him. So
Yeah.
you can say whatever you want, but that's not something you can put in writing and enforce, right?
For sure.
So while that may be well intentioned, and so that's why like I am I will say, like, I am more hopeful of option A than option B. I am still concerned, so it's one of those, if I'm swinging for the fence, I'm taking AJ. If I'm not swinging for the fence, I'm probably taking someone else on those lists. It just depends on, what my first round pick was, because he's probably going to be a second round draft pick.
I am not swinging for the fences on AJ Brown, hoping that he will be a top 5 wide receiver. The New England had one of the easiest schedules last year, and also one of the easiest road to the Super Bowls last year, in my opinion. Only for them to have a horrible performance, and then Drake May pads his stats because the other side of the team just kind of like, oh yeah, we'll give you some sympathy points. This year, they have one of the hardest schedules. If you look at their first 5 weeks, they are in the bottom 5 wide receivers strength of schedule. Running backs, bottom 10, and then quarterbacks, they're 21st. So it's telling NFL saying that you have one of the hardest first 5 weeks going into the league. Hold on, I just lost it right here. They are playing Seattle first. Then they go at home to Pittsburgh. Then they go into Jacksonville. Then they go into Buffalo. And then their next easiest game is Las Vegas at week 5. So for me, where the value of all these players are being drafted at, I think people are going to be a little disappointed for where people are drafting Jake May, where people are drafting AJ Brown, people were Henderson, Ramondre, people where they're drafting these players and they're not going to get the ROI at least at the initial round. So you're basically hoping that New England system, Mike Vrabel, what they've been able to do, build up another year of experience for Drake May. Everyone's hoping there's no regression. I think there's going to be regression at quarterback in terms of passing yards. I think Drake May is legit. I'm not saying he's not legit. I think Drake May is the starting quarterback and a franchise quarterback. I think there's going to be regression. Look at Stroud. CJ Stroud, his first year to his second year. Easy strength of schedule, had a wonderful rookie year. Then his second year when he actually played legitimate teams, he struggled. So I would like to see that regression. And unfortunately, when you have a regression year, who takes the hardest hits? The wide receivers. So
Okay, how about
clarify? You would like to see the regression, or you expect to see the regression?
I expect to see the regression.
It's like, man, Miles throwing shade on Drake May.
No. Like I said, I want to give my respect to Drake May. I think he is a legitimate quarterback in this league. He's going to be starting for the Patriots for the next decade. He has the legs. He has the mindset. I just think inevitably he's going to regress from his rookie year to this sophomore year, where he's being drafted. He's the QB4 being drafted right now.
You don't have to give a reason. Yeah, you don't have to give a reason why or not, but I'll pose. I guess this will be more revealing your guys' answer. Is AJ Brown better, or is AJ Brown higher ranked in a PPR league or a non-PPR league?
Non-PPR.
Non-PPR.
Interesting.
Yeah, he's rated higher in a non-PPR.
All right, that's telling me.
Like the stat I was giving earlier, right? So here's his average, reception yardage through his career. 20, 15, 14, 17, 14, 16, 13. Like, this is a guy who catches,
deeper down the field.
passes. In fact, last year was his worst season where his long was 45. Every other long he had was, 60 plus.
All right, so he's basically going to win people fantasy leagues some weeks and then disappear the others is what I'm getting.
That's why I'm staying away from AJ Brown for where he's going to be drafted to the return. Like, you have to assume that he's going to be a top 8 and consistency. He's going to have weeks where, he's going to bomb off, and then it's going to be a Hunter Henry week, or it's going to be Ramondre Stevenson and Henderson split carry off, and Drake May takes the touchdowns, and AJ Brown gets like 4 targets for like 50 yards.
Sure.
It's not good enough in standard.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at his receptions total, he's only had 1 year with over 100 receptions. So, like, PPR is just not his bag.
No.
Roger that.
Whereas if you look at, here, let's go to wide receivers last year, receptions. There's 5 guys with 100 plus receptions, and just last year, well, even if you do the 90s, because he didn't have let's say AJ Brown. So other than the year he had 100, his next best season was 88. That's the only season in the 80s. So basically, in 5 of his 7 career seasons, he has had less than 80 receptions. So when you look at how many guys have 80 or more catches, it kind of takes you out of it in PPR. I mean, there's more to it than just catches, but like, I'm just saying, these are guys that had high catches and presumably high fantasy points. But yeah, anyway. Any other questions or talk about the AJ Brown trade?
Nope.
All right. Any other NFL news you want to discuss, or do you guys want to move on to another
We
sport?
can we can move on. We'll have plenty of time to do NFL over the next month and a half.
All right. Well, Mitch, you picked the first topic, so Miles will go to you. What sport you want to talk about next?
Let's go right into the NBA.
All right, we're gonna go to the NBA. So for those who don't know, we do now have teams in the finals. It is going to be the Knicks, who I said from the very beginning was the team that I thought I didn't want to believe in, but they might do it. And then the Spurs with the upset over the Thunder. So take it away, boys. What do you want to talk about?
This is the first time I've been wrong in a finals matchup and all. I can't remember in a long time. Normally, basketball is like the easiest to predict who's going to make it into the finals and who you think is going to win. This is the first year I had Thunder and Celtics. I thought it was another easy walk in for the Celtics. But yeah, I was wrong. They lost to the Sixers, and then Knicks blew out everyone. Surprisingly, the Hawks were their closest contention. But I don't think this is going to be close. Everyone thinks it's going to be Knicks in 6 or San Antonio in 7. I honestly think it's going to be like San Antonio in 5. All it takes is Wembanyama to figure out the Knicks in one game and the Knicks to do what they normally do is struggle. They have been successful because the competition, what they had to go through, has been horrendous. If your hardest opponent was the Atlanta Hawks, then last year they screwed up by losing to the Pacers when they were expected to win last year out of the East. There's always an excuse for New York not to come out of the East, whether it be LeBron James killing them, whether it be the Celtics that overcome with them, whether it be the Toronto Raptors that came in and won their one year. Like the Knicks have always disappointed, and this year finally when they fulfilled and they look like they're the best on offense, well, now you're actually going against a real team that's gone through the Nuggets, the Lakers, or sorry, not the Nuggets, the Nuggets, the Timberwolves, and the Thunder. Like, yeah. So,
I can't stress enough Mike Brown's importance. I mean, the Knicks have taken multiple Laker coaches, including Phil Jackson in like 2010. Then they took
it's
Derek
true.
Fisher like 4 years ago, and then they took Mike Brown. People forget Mike Brown was winning with the Lakers.
Lakers, yeah,
Yeah, early on. Mike Brown is one of the most underrated coaches. He won with LeBron in Cleveland. He won with the Lakers, and he was going to win with the Knicks. Maybe I don't know. We're getting past Wemby on the. I think the Spurs are okay. So this is what bothered me the most. I don't like how the Spurs built their team, and I don't like SGA. So watching that Western Finals was excruciating for me. The Spurs got so lucky that Wembayama had the appendectomy thing in the middle of 2 seasons ago because they were on pace to be like the number 3 or 4 seed, and they ended up getting second or third to last with the most ping pong balls and got Dylan Harper at 2 overall. Dylan
yeah,
Harper is he's he's probably a top 15 player in the league. He's so good and he's a rookie. They should not be able to have all three, Castle, Harper, and Wembayama. They just got, it's like, it reminds me of when David Robinson was hurt and they sat him and they were technically a 3 or 4 seed as well with David Robinson, but they sat him out the whole year and they ended up getting Tim Duncan. So I don't,
exactly what. It's
yeah.
exactly what Dirk Nowitzki said on NBA Prime. He's like, he's a long time Mavericks fan. He's like, I just don't understand how San Antonio gets lucky all the time. Like
How they built the,
Duncan,
yeah,
yeah,
that timing of that surgery and them falling, them getting the perfect in the cue ball, and not to mention getting Wembayama in the first place. They weren't even the most likely statistically team to get it, and they somehow ended up getting it. I don't. This team is real. This isn't like the Pacers last year where everyone's like, "Oh, the Pacers are young and around forever," or even the Celtics were like, "They're going to be good." No, this is a real 3 star team with those guys with Castle, Wembayama, and then on the other hand, I don't like SGA because I've been a fan for 30 years now of the NBA. I've watched all playoffs. I consider myself really knowledgeable. And like, he bothers me the way he purposely falls after every time he goes up and shoot. I understand you want to kick your leg out like the Reggie Miller stuff or even what Kobe Bryant did where you initiate the contact. James Harden took that and put it on steroids and basically initiated contact. And now SGA is taking it a step further to where there's not even initiated contact. He's just going to fall every play. And eventually the refs will call a certain amount of them. He goes up, shoots, and he doesn't even get touched. And he's just falling on the ground every time. He does not land on his shots. He purposely just does not land on any of his shots. Do that 15 times a game, and you're guaranteed to get like 3 or 4 extra calls. So, in all honesty, I might be rooting for the Knicks in this series, even though. You know what I mean? And that's really weird to say. The Knicks actually built this team. People want to rewind back is like the Luka Doncic stuff from Dallas, where they're all like, what's his name? The GM killing him. People forget Jalen Brunson was on that team too.
They also made
So,
the right decision of taking Brunson at a discount over Donovan Mitchell because Donovan Mitchell was traded
right.
and wanted to go to New York, but New York
Wanted to
was
go to
like,
New
we
York.
can't,
They
we
let
couldn't.
Mitchell go to Cleveland. That's why I
Cleveland.
thought Cleveland was going to be the pick because of Mitchell. That's why I picked Cleveland myself. And no, it looks like it was Jalen Brunson. That ends up being the correct call, and that was also on the Mavs. So it's like the Mavs basically, and then if Doncic doesn't get hurt, I'm not saying the Lakers could have beaten the Thunder or the Spurs. I'm not trying to say that, but
Would have been
there's a
more competitive.
chance. Yeah,
There's a
there would have
chance.
been a chance.
There would have
So
been.
literally, the two of the most important players in the league right now, like especially if the Knicks win a champ, like it's just wild to me the state of the NBA of how that's going along. But yeah, we'll see the Thunder. This might be a Thunder Spurs Western Finals. 3 of the next 4 years, unfortunately. And
Well, the
people don't
Thunder aren't going to be in
realize.
this Western Finals because they lost, Mitch.
I know.
Huh?
I said in the Western Finals
Western
Oh,
Finals.
Western Finals.
yeah, yeah, for the next 4 years. People forget they still have the Paul George pick next year. It's protected top five, so they're gonna have a protected top five pick
Yeah,
again next
there's
year.
there's rumors of Chet Holmgren being traded, and then one of those top fives to get like Boozer, and
So
then also potentially or some big trade for Giannis.
So I think that would be a mistake. I'm not going to try and get into the rumors right now of the NBA, but
Yeah,
watching that, I was gonna say. All this being said, watching Chet Holmgren versus Wembanyama has been some of the most fun I've watched the NBA in many years. I'm not kidding around. Like their matchup, they've known each other since I think they were like 12 years old,
so
11 years. Yeah, they've had to play each other in all forms of championships from the age of 11 till now.
now,
Like,
yeah,
yeah, every world championship that they had, they played each other growing up together. So they like actually rivals. Watching them play, like watching someone contest Wembanyama's shot and watching that matchup, I thought it was going to be the Jokic. I teased a month and a half ago on here. I was like, just wait for the Jokic Wembanyama matchup.
matchup, yeah.
It's gonna be the greatest thing to watch. I was wrong. It was Chet versus Wembanyama. That has been so much fun. So I'm sad that is over in the series. Chet did disappear in Game 7. It's going to be a narrative that people are going to talk about in the NBA going forward for a while. But no, this seems to be like Shaq Duncan type of thing, where it's going to be Holmgren is Duncan and Wembanyama is Shaq, and it's going to be basically the story of the West for the next 4 years. Very excited for that. Fun to watch.
So anyway, yeah, the path for the Knicks in the East, you guys can call it easy, and maybe it was, but I do have a little stat for you here. I did say at the beginning they were my pick to come out of the East. I
Great
didn't
pick.
want to believe in them because they always find a way to choke, but I said they were the best team on paper, and they have proved that. They had a plus 271 point differential entering these finals. That is the largest ever by a team.
Correct.
They've outscored their opponents by 271 points on the way to the finals, which is insane. And yes, again, maybe they didn't play the best of competition, but you only play who's put in front of you. And if you look at the points, it wasn't just the other team didn't score much; it's they scored a million. Look at all the closeout games: 140, 144, 130.
Yeah, all
Yeah,
those
they've
teams have their
gone.
defense though. Now they're going against. Like I said, I won't be surprised that Karl Anthony Towns disappears. They're gonna have a
Yeah,
game. I'll be shocked if actually Karl Anthony Towns shows up against this matchup. The only one I do expect to show up is Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart. Like everyone else, uh, I the Spurs on paper match up extremely well against New York. Even though New York won the Emirates Cup, that NBA Cup, the Spurs weren't fully healthy. The Knicks had better matchups in the regular season. You have both teams healthy, and right now the matchup screams San Antonio from bench to starting. The only one that stands out obviously is Brunson. He's elite. He's a clutch player. But Spurs, like Mitchell said earlier, they have three elite guard plays, and then the rotational players off the bench is just like,
yeah.
yeah, it's just
Also,
insane.
I was trying to see who the Patriots played. I was trying to make a comparison, but it's terrible. This, Alex, I agree with you. The Knicks, great call, amazing, everything. But I don't think they've played a statistical top 20 defense in the play. It's like I think
Right,
I'm trying to find the stat, and
but they
it's
have an
like they're
X
gonna.
factor that you're not familiar with, Mitch.
Who is it?
The X factor is, of course, Danhausen. Are you too familiar
Oh,
with Danhausen?
no, I
Because
don't think I am.
for those who are not familiar with Danhausen, he is a professional wrestler, and he looks like a weird vampire dude with face paint. And his whole thing is he curses people, and when he curses
Okay.
you, you do poorly. Well, ESPN is now heavily involved in wrestling. They have WWE wrestlers on their
Yeah.
shows all the time. Well, Danhausen had originally cursed the Knicks earlier, and the Knicks lost the game after he cursed them. So a guy on Cameo paid him to switch the curse to the Cavs going into the Cavs series. So he goes on ESPN and curses the Cavs for game one. And then in game one, the Cavs are up 22 points with 8 minutes left to play in the fourth quarter. It's
Yeah.
not an exaggeration. The Knicks came back to win the game. The curse happened, and then Danhausen said he'll do it again if they give him 4 sheets. So they gave him 4 sheets for game two. He cursed the Cavs again, and the rest is history. The Cavs get swept by the Knicks thanks to the Danhausen curses. It also played well in the WWE storyline for those who follow that, because Danhausen was feuding with The Miz, who is from Cleveland and is a Cavs fan. So all that played out well too. So it worked out great storyline wise too. But the Knicks can thank a guy on
Whoever's the
Cameo
writers.
for
Yeah.
bringing Danhausen on board to help them out. So if someone will pay Danhausen again in a Cameo to curse the Spurs, the Knicks may have this.
Whoever's the producer writers for the WWE need pay raises for sure.
Oh, dude, it's just Danhausen. That guy is like caught on like wildfire. He's super over right now. So
Nice. Um, Knowing all this, what are your guys' prediction in how many games? What are you thinking?
give me Knicks in
Spurs in
6.
5.
Knicks
Spurs in
and
5.
Spurs 5, Knicks and 6. Wow. Oh, wow. I think I'm gonna lean closer to Spurs and 5 than Knicks and 6, but what's in between that?
Spurs in 7.
Spurs and 7.
A
No, I'll
tie
take that.
5.5 is the only thing in between. That. I don't know, man.
So yeah, that's this one's tough. I'm not really rooting for anyone. I hope they both lose.
Dang, that's
So
harsh.
yeah, I
Uh,
mean, I don't like how the Spurs built their team. I guess I'm rooting for the Knicks. I'm rooting for the Knicks, but I think the Spurs win. That's my problem.
I've heard. I mean, the Knicks do have a player that's gonna, just had surgery on his finger. He'll be playing with some sort of support on it. So we'll see how that
Mitch
affects him.
Robinson. He doesn't
But
Oh,
need it.
the
He
the
doesn't need it.
Knicks average buy-in price for tickets or whatever was 6,000 something or whatever for
Yeah.
game three, and then the Spurs buy-in price, the average price is $800.
Yeah.
I can't remember which podcast I was listening to, and I heard
Dan
that. It was
Patrick.
like
Dan
maybe it was
Patrick
Dan,
show.
yeah, yeah, and I was just like, oh, well, that's New York versus San Antonio. Like, it'd be cheaper to fly to San Antonio, hang out for the weekend, go to the game, and fly back than go to a Knicks game.
That is pretty crazy.
all right. Anything else basketball related you
No,
guys want to talk about?
no, it'd be. Well, I mean, I like to talk about the Lakers, so I'll do a really quick thing. I think the Lakers are trying to move on. This is the first time I've ever admitted this, and it's been what, 7 years now. This is the first time I think the Lakers are actively trying to move on from LeBron. So there's never been this type of. I have, James Worthy. I have sources that I've listened to about Lakers for 15 plus years now that usually are never wrong. And that's how I get Mike Brezhnin is another one. They usually have their finger on the pulse. And yeah, I think that it's in motion. There's actually, I just want to get it on record just in case it happens. There's actually momentum for him to go to Cleveland for Harden because they ended up traded, what's his name for Harden halfway through the season. And they're probably going to let Harden go, and then LeBron could join that playoff-ready Cavs team, is what the rumors are right now. So, just food for thought. Wanted to put that out there that the Lakers look like they are trying to make moves beyond LeBron for the first time. This is
Well, because now
fully,
they have Luca. They don't need him
yeah,
anymore.
yeah. This is fully Doncic's team, 100%.
Uh, do you? Then I'll ask both of you guys this question. Do you guys both think that LeBron will retire as a Cav?
As not a Laker or as a Cav.
As a Cavalier, meaning like he will play his last game, and not saying like I'm going to have a retirement ceremony as a Cavalier, but like he will play his last NBA game as a Cleveland Cavalier.
No, see, that's a trick question. I thought he was always going to sign like a 1 day contract and retire as a Cav. But if you're asking me, does
Right.
he play his
Yeah, no, yeah. I'm
last
not asking that. I
season?
know he's going to retire
Okay.
as a Cav. I'm asking if he will play his last game in a Cavs jersey.
See, that's the rumors right now. He's going to go there
Right.
and
So I'm
replace
asking you if you think
Harden.
that's what's going to happen.
I think the credible sources that I follow, I would be stupid not to trust them as I've done for the last 20 years of my life. So I'm going to have to answer this yes. I'm going to trust the people that I've trusted before and say yes, he will go back to being a Cav.
And will Bronny James join him?
No, Bronny James is fully becoming kind of like an LA kid now. He's
Right,
I
but he
don't
might want
know.
to keep playing basketball. So
Yeah. That's a Bronny, did he deserve it? No, but has he developed? Yes. So
He has
he
developed a
he
little bit.
has developed. You cannot deny it. It's just like you forget that athletes are human beings and you still develop from the ages of 22 to 27. And he might have not deserved the opportunity, but he has developed. So that one, Alex, I can't believe I'm saying this. I think Bronny is fine to play out his contract. If LeBron leaves this year, I think Bronny is still going to be a Laker for another year.
wow, Miles, what about you?
I'm shocked to say that.
I would like to give, I mean, if I had to make a decision now, Braun is leaving, but I'd like to give it a little bit more time because, yes, the sources that I've read also indicate the Lakers are trying to move on, but there is also indicating that the Lakers are trying to re-sign him at a lower rate so they can get more talent to get over the hump of getting past OKC and San Antonio because you're going to add another big. As much as I love DeAndre Ayton, he's not the answer for the West to them
So
to get over their answer. LeBron James put up serviceable number. The only thing is LeBron feels like, hey, I'm worth more than the veteran signage that the Lakers want to bring me back on. So we'll see how badly
so
because
Miles,
LeBron
that's
doesn't want to leave LA. Like this
Well,
just calls
yeah,
he
I
wants
think
to
the
stay in
issue,
LA.
I think the issue there, Miles, comment on what you're saying is that LeBron doesn't need the ring, so he wants the money, and the Lakers want the ring, so they want him to take less money.
I
right.
don't think
That's
LeBron needs the money either. It's just the
no,
He
principle of
doesn't,
value.
but he's been on record saying he wants to be the first self-made black billionaire. He like so the
Yeah,
money does matter to him,
it
and
does.
that's
It
not an
does.
insult to LeBron, by the way. I have no issue with that. I'm just saying like other veterans in the past, like Karl Malone, John Stockton, they played on veteran minimum contracts for LA because they wanted a championship. LeBron's not in a position where he's like, I need a championship.
it's also very extremely disrespectful to ask him to do that. He would have to volunteer to do that without being asked. Like you can't ask the greatest player, arguably one of the top 3, 5 greatest players to ever play, to take a pay cut to come home to the city so you can win a chance. Like it's not happening. I think also, Miles, you've touched on it. This is the problem with the current NBA labor bargaining agreement is Silver wanted to get beyond the 3-star thing. He didn't want the leagues to be dominated. You get that third star, the that 3-star. Everyone was trying to get that 3-star
Yeah.
template or whatever you
The
call it.
Celtics kind of like highlighted that
Right.
more.
So they wanted to get rid of that to where they have only allowed now, especially with the Supermax dying or whatever, that you could only fit 2 full max contracts, and then you can either barely fit that third guy, but then the rest of your team is literally going to be G League players, or you do the template that you spread that third max contract out to a bunch of above average players. So the issue becomes, is LeBron going to be one of your 2 guys on a roster who eats up a max contract? Because the way the template is you only get 2 of those per team now. And LeBron at his age, does he deserve it? Sure. But is he equal to another one of these guys getting max contracts? No. So if you want a team that's competitive, you can't max contracts LeBron because you only get 2 of those nowadays. That's what the issue becomes. And I think you kind of touched on it, but I just wanted to state it.
Well, yeah, and I
Also,
mean, look at
I'll
his
go on a
points.
wild card.
Go
I'll go
ahead.
on a wild card and I'll say like, hey, I think they're gonna try to re-sign LeBron for what his value is,
For
or a
half
little
the
under,
value.
or for a little bit. But I think they're gonna trade Austin Rivers for talent and to get loaded up to allow that. So either Rivers is going or LeBron's going. It's one of those two.
Sure. I mean, they'd always
Or
get
not
rid of
Rivers,
position.
sorry, Austin
All
Reeves.
right, well,
Sorry.
let's not turn this into the Lakers podcast. All right,
Yeah.
we talk about LeBron. We don't need to talk about all their players. I get what you're saying, but
Yeah.
He meant to say Reeves, but we got all right,
Reeves,
move
yeah.
on. Yeah, yeah.
Reeves.
okay. Yeah, so I do have one last basketball story. We are, of course, the podcast of record for the WNBA, bringing you breaking news, hot takes
Oh
all the time.
no. I'm gonna
So
hit
hold on,
snooze real quick.
I got to give a shout out to Asia Wilson. She dropped 45 points on 80% shooting.
That's
Only
gosh.
twice has that happened before, where someone has dropped 45 or more. Um, and she did it with 80% shooting, which is super impressive, especially when you consider like most of the time, oh man, Allen Iverson had a 45-point game. He shot 37%. Like to drop 45 points 80%
On
shooting
80%,
in the
yeah.
WNBA, where obviously there's not the Wilt numbers, there's not the Kobe numbers, there's not the people that drop 80 points a game in the WNBA. That's really impressive. So shout out to that. I'm gonna skip past it because you guys are just make fun of it. I also had
Oh yeah.
a couple more quick points about the
Save
NFL.
me, Alex. Move fast and
Couple,
save me.
couple more quick points about the NFL before we move on to a different sport that I forgot to mention. The Jets have no primetime games this season. That tells you how uninteresting to watch people are going to be for the New York Jets to have not a single primetime game, especially when you have Thursday night, Sunday night, and Monday night games. There's,
Isn't there 7 teams without primetime games?
I
I
mean,
forget.
Jets are one of them.
there might be, but just the fact that the Jets like being in New York, right? I mean, granted they play in New Jersey, whatever, but like being in the biggest market and not getting a primetime game is pretty impressive in a bad way.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then the other thing about games is the Jacksonville Jaguars, have an 8-game stretch this season with only one game being played in Jacksonville because
Yeah,
some of their
London.
quote unquote home games are in another country. So I wonder how big of a disadvantage will that be to have basically a 7-game road stretch and have multiple of your home games be played in a foreign stadium.
It's my one, or not one, but one of my many critiques of the NFL is like they're trying too much to play NFL all the time. The Thursday games, the international games, it's just going to bite them in the ass eventually because the product is going to get worse. But yeah, it's going to be tough for the Jaguars. They have 3 primetime games. The 0 games, there's actually only 5. The Raiders, Jets, Dolphins, Cardinals, Titans. So yeah, for the Jets not to have any primetime games is
Yeah, a lot of those are not small market, but smaller market squads,
market. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then New York. So that's why it was. I mean, yes, you're right, Miles. There are multiple teams, but I just felt that one was kind of impressively bad. Okay.
I doubt you could walk up to Al Michaels and be like, "Hey, were you excited for that Jets Browns game on Thursday Night
Oh, I'm
Football?"
not, Mitch. I'm not saying it's wrong that they have no primetime games. I'm saying it's funny.
Yeah.
Al Michaels might call in sick.
Yeah. All right. So still got a couple other sports to cover. So we'll go to let's go to hockey real fast because I know you guys are gonna have a lot, or at least Mitch will have a lot to say about soccer. So we'll go to hockey real fast. Have you guys been watching Lord Stanley's Cup at all, or should I just kind of take the reins?
Oh, I've been watching it all.
Okay,
I love
great.
watching playoff hockey.
Yeah, playoff hockey. We've talked about a lot on the pod. Best to be. We do have the championship set now. Carolina Hurricanes. Everyone thought they'd be there, and they are. They crushed it. They only lost one game all the way to the finals, and then the Avalanche were like, they're only going to lose one game too, right? Wrong. They got swept by the Golden Knights. Not only did they get swept by the Golden Knights, there was a game where the Golden Knights were down 3-0 in the first period, then had a goal disallowed, which, by the way, if anyone saw the play, it was a horrendous call. They ruled it was a hand passed into the goal. You watch the replay, it very clearly goes off his stick. So terrible call. They get hosed out of a goal. They're down 3-0 against the Avs, who are world beaters, best team in the league. Game's over, right? Nope. Knights won that game. So my question then is, everyone thought it was going to be Carolina and Avalanche, the two teams with by far the best odds. I think before, like when the playoffs started, you could bet like $100 to win 200 on the Avs, 100 to win 250 on Carolina, or 100 to win like $3,000 on anybody else. That's how big the odds difference was. So now that the Golden Knights have not just upset but crushed the Avs, does that change who you guys think is going to happen in this final series, or you still think it's the Hurricanes walking away with it?
I still think it's the Hurricanes. They're gonna not walk away with it. I think it's gonna be a really close series. I think Carolina wins in 7, all close games.
Nice. I'd love to see that.
I think it's gonna be an interesting matchup between the head coaches or the chess game of who they want to get matches up on them because Carolina has historically always had the depth. They just couldn't get over the hurdle. They couldn't get past Tampa Bay. They couldn't get past Florida. Now finally that Tampa Bay and Florida are both eliminated from the series. I mean, Lightning lost in the first round to Canadiens, and then Florida had an injury-plagued season. This was like Carolina's coming out party, like we're finally going to do it, and they did it. Vegas is just a team with experience. Like Mark Stone is just one of those legendary captains, or it's just like wow, like you just see him propel his team. They had a coaching change halfway through the season, and it was just like I did not expect the Vegas Knights to get past the Avalanche. I thought so. I'm looking for a close game. I wouldn't be surprised if Vegas took it all. I'm not rooting for Vegas. Same division as Anaheim. Also, to only be in the league for 9 years and to be on their third playoff
Wild.
Stanley Cup final.
Yeah.
It's just every team would fan. Like, look at the Sabres. Buffalo has been in the league for like 30 years and never even got to this point versus Vegas, 9 years. We're going to do it in
33
3 times.
every third year they're in the championship.
Yeah, so I'm picking Carolina in 7, but I think this is going to be a lot closer than the NBA Finals in terms of who I think is going to win. So, but I'm expecting a fun series.
Mitch, you have any input on this? If not, I have a question for you guys.
One team is 12-4, and the other team is 12-1. The Hurricanes have only lost one game
Yeah.
this
Correct.
playoffs. Yeah, if you told me that was the record of a team going to the NBA, and you were like the Spurs are 12-1, I'd be like, okay, this is a no-brainer. So as much as I'm not a big hockey fan as you guys, I definitely don't watch much regular season, and I always tune in every year during the playoff time. There's this from the untrained eye and the unprofessional eye. There's no way I can't take the Hurricanes on this one.
I mean, the counterpoint is, sometimes it's all about streaks in sports. I mean, more so in baseball than other sports, but still, like, if you get hot at the right time, something can happen. And the Golden Knights are as hot as it gets right now. Also,
Yeah, true.
the one game the Hurricanes lost, which I did talk about in the pod, the reason they lost that game, they had a 13-day break between sweeping the Flyers and having to wait to play the Canadians, who went to 7 games with the Sabres. So the reason they lost game 1 of that series, they were rusty. They hadn't played hockey in 13 days.
13 games,
so,
yeah.
this time it's not going to be that way around because both teams had short series, so they're both going to be fresh. So while the Golden Knights are hot, as you can see, the Canes are still also in playing form. The Golden Knights do have one thing, and this is my question to you, gentlemen: is this going to be a boon or potentially a bad thing? Is it good luck or is it a distraction? There are currently 5 players in the Golden Knights who have pregnant wives who are expected to deliver their baby sometime this month. You could have 5 babies born during the series. Is that like a good luck charm for the Golden Knights, or is that going to distract them because, like, oh man, my kid's being born and I'm missing it?
Isn't it historically when a player's father or mother recently passed away, or they have a newborn, like they just perform really well? So I'm going to go on the opposite side and say like they're going to perform well.
I have no idea if that has any bearing on anything. It's
Mitch,
not like
this is the most in-depth sports podcast there is. We have all the science, and I'm expecting you to deliver.
I don't know if it
Just like
affects
these moms
them.
want to deliver these babies.
I would like to imagine it affects a male while the spouse is having a baby, but I don't really know truly how much it affects a professional hockey player. I'm trying to pick my words
What
here.
you're saying is you didn't research the topic beforehand?
No, I didn't. And what I guess if you want to go and for the most in-depth knowledge podcast, I guess my answer would be, what number kid is this? Is this the 3rd kid in the family? Because then who cares? You know what I mean? Right, Miles?
Okay. I see what you're saying, though. Like, if they've been there, they've done that, they don't need to be there for the birth of this child, whereas if it's their first child, it might mean more to them.
Yeah, the first kid, you like don't even let out of the house for the first 2 months. By the time you're on the 3rd kid, it's like week 2 and they're already at Applebee's.
There is validity behind that.
All right. Yeah, so it sounds like you guys are both on the Hurricane hype train, although Miles has it going 7. I do think the Hurricanes are the better team. Vegas is hot right now, so I'm going to take the Canes in 6. I do want a good series. I am someone who I don't have beef with either of these teams. I'd be happy for either of them to win, so I just want a good series.
I'm definitely rooting for Carolina, so don't tell mom this because she's in Vegas.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
So, is there a reason you have beef with the Golden Knights?
I do not. Well, they're the same division as Anaheim, and again,
Okay,
I
sure.
just don't want a new franchise to have all this glory. I mean, they've earned it. Don't get me wrong, but I just
Imagine,
I've had a lifetime. I've had a lifetime hating the Sharks. And I still hate the Sharks. So I'm glad that their struggles will continue to prevail, even though they got the 2nd pick this year in the lottery, and they're supposed to get like a generational player. But still, as long as the Sharks continue to struggle, I'm happy. But now seeing Vegas like kind of dominate the division between them and Edmonton, I was just like, I don't think Vegas needs another championship. I'm rooting for Carolina. They've gone through the hurdle of literally losing in the Eastern Conference Finals in the last 5 years in a row. This is the finally time they got through Tampa Bay and finally got through Florida. They're there, so I'm rooting for Carolina.
Yeah, it's also worth noting
Wayne,
this is only the 3rd time in history that a team with less than 40 wins has made it to the Stanley Cup
I've gone.
Finals.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wayne Gretzky said it, and I'll take it from him. he said it about playing for the Kings in LA, but I could only imagine applying it to the Knights in Vegas. Imagine waking up, going to a pool in shorts, board shorts, walking to the arena, going to practice, leaving practice, and then going out in the nightlife of Vegas or LA, and you get to be in shorts all the time. Like, I bet you a lot of players are going to be, I bet the Knights are going to be good for a long time. A lot of people are
Well,
going to
they have a
love
great
playing in
they
Vegas.
have a great front office. They
Not
have
just
a
that, but I'm saying like imagine
yeah.
you just get to go hang out by the pool, be in board shorts. It's some always the do. Then you go into practice, and then after practice, you're out and you have like the Vegas nightlife there. It's like
Well,
what players
I
are
think it's
not going to
actually
want to play?
I think it's actually the opposite of that because it's they're going to be used to that, so it doesn't distract them. Whereas when people come to town, they might be just
That
like
oh, good
when
point. Yeah,
if you're someone who plays for the Minnesota Wild, right?
and you're in Vegas,
And you're in the frozen tundra of Minnesota for most of the season, and now you're in Vegas. You may not be as focused. Now, look, these are professional athletes; they are going to be
right,
focused for
right,
the most
right,
part.
right.
Also, these aren't young foolish football players that make a lot of these mistakes we see on TV, like the Rasheed Rices and uh, the Raider player. I can't think of his name. The wide receiver that got himself in so much trouble back in the anyway. Whatever, you don't see as many stories about hockey players getting themselves into trouble. But yeah, I think if there was going to be a distraction, you might have some home ice advantage there in Vegas as a result. Although
Yeah,
one thing that is interesting to me, speaking of home ice, it's amazing to me that Vegas does get home ice advantage. Their fans root for them, but the Las Vegas Raiders, the stadium is filled by the opponents every time because
It's
people want to take a
because
trip to
the
Vegas.
people in
that is
Vegas
interesting
the people in Vegas actually view the Golden Knights as their team, like their team.
because
They will support.
expansion versus a move team from
That's a
Oakland.
good point, and also the fact that the Las Vegas Raiders only have eight to nine home games a season. It's a lot easier to take one trip to go root for your team if you're a Steelers fan or a Chiefs fan or whoever. Take one Vegas
Exactly.
trip to root for your team. Whereas if you're the Golden Knights and you play a 5 game series throughout the year against the Tampa Bay Lightning, well, if I'm in Tampa Bay, I'm not traveling to Vegas 5 times a year.
Apparently, the
Right.
Vegas Knights are in the top five of hardest games. Like it's like the New York Knicks. They're very difficult tickets to get. Like Montreal Canadiens, Toronto Maple
Oh,
Leafs,
I'm sure because
Vegas
everyone that goes
Vegas
there
Golden
wants to
Knights
watch
are
it. Sorry,
yeah,
go ahead.
yeah.
Yeah. You're
And
looking at the
also
schedule and you're like, which game are we going to go to an away game this year? Are we going to go to the Minnesota Wild? I mean, the Vikings? Or are we going to go to
Hold
Vegas?
on, Miles, go ahead and finish that list.
no, yeah. So I was just saying the last thing I wanted to finish on that was also with Vegas treating them as their home team and why they ruined so much. If you remember back the massacre that happened, tragic accident, the Vegas Knights were in contention on that. That was like kind of like their for fans speaking on their behalf, their way of getting out of the like that horrible accident, the horrible situation that happened to their city. It was kind of like
Katrina
their
and
luxury of
the Saints.
transition of like rooting for a team, a city, to all come together. So Vegas kind of capitalized everything is about timing. Oh, yeah, so they did it right. Vegas done it right, at least for hockey.
All
But
right.
otherwise, enjoy the Oakland A's.
Yeah.
Eh,
All right. So yeah, good stuff there, boys. So we've talked hockey, we've talked basketball, talked football. Chris was gonna send me some stuff about golf. He didn't, and I have nothing to say about golf. So unless you do, the only thing left as far as the big sports would be soccer. And Mitch, you've had a lot of hot takes on soccer recently. I'll give the news that I was going to give last week on the pod and then never got around to because we didn't record the pod. Lionel Messi left the game hurt. What's going to happen? He's fine. But at the time, he left the game hurt, so it was a big deal.
It'll be interesting to see how much playing time he gets this World Cup.
Yeah, I would be interested to see if he gets like
He's
if
going to be a
he's
60
starting.
minute super sub,
Yeah,
probably.
super sub starting, or if he comes in off the bench and when everyone's tired.
Yeah, the
Do you
60
do you
minutes.
think?
So.
I mean, obviously in group stages, I'm sure, but like when they get to the knockout rounds, you really think he's going to be a second half sub?
Very possible.
Very
Or if they
possible.
start him, they'll take him out by that 50-minute mark.
Yeah, 50, 60 minute mark.
55, yeah, somewhere in there.
Well,
That's
that's what I'm
usually
asking
the
though.
script.
Do you think he starts and sets the pace and plays as
No.
long as he can
No,
go,
I
or do you
think
think
he
okay?
comes. I think he'll be better utilized when there's tired legs on the field, and then he's fresh.
Yeah, he's going to come in that 60th minute fresh and dominate. That's what I feel like would be the best use. But I'm not the head coach, so I don't know. That's why I'm interested. Same with Ronaldo. We haven't seen Ronaldo play in a meaningful soccer game in 3.5 years since he
Years.
went to Al Jassar Har Al Fit or whatever it's called
Saudi Arabia League.
in Saudi Arabia. So Same with you can extend that to Sadio Mane. Sadio Mane is not. You cannot argue with me on this one. This is not debatable in my opinion. He is a top five, maybe even top three player in the world. It is not debatable for me. The problem is we haven't seen him play in a meaningful game.
Game.
Not one. Not I'm not even exaggerating. Not one meaningful game in 3.5 years since he also went to the Saudi Arabia League. And so it'd be very. I'm very fascinated to see certain players coming back for their country, especially Mane with Senegal. It's like you legitimately have a top five player in the world that no one has watched in 3.5 years. That would be like France has Mbappe and no one's seen Mbappe play in 3.5 years. Or Brazil with Vini Jr. No one's seen Vini Jr. play in 3.5 years. This Mane is better than Vinicius Jr. He's probably up there with Mbappe at number two or three in the world. And so it's like it's fascinating to me. And then as far as the American side goes, this I complained to you guys 4 years ago that we could not play the 4-3-3 and we took too many MLS players on the team, right? It's the opposite. We took almost zero MLS players this year, and we are not even close to the 4-3-3. It's not even on Portuguese's mind. We're playing like a 4-5-1 almost, where
Yeah,
we're
it's a 4-2-1-2.
yeah, 4-2-1, if you however you want to break it down, but ultimately it's still kind of like a 4-5-1, right? So like we are going to actually have a shot this year. And I told you guys 4 years ago, I'm like, we're leaving the wrong players off. By the way, Reina made it this year, not even questionable. We don't have to worry about that. And Florio Balgon made it, and he might be our top scorer. Those two guys were left off the World Cup team 4 years ago.
Don't get me started about 4 years ago and that whole USA thing.
So,
Like
Yeah,
I
I
was
mean,
so angry.
we don't have that kind of time because
We don't have
Yeah,
that kind of
exactly.
stuff. So
We don't have
I'm
time.
just pointing out that the errors of those times have corrected. So USA actually, this is the most excited I've been about the US. And then maybe
This is our
Luna.
best roster since
Yes, I was gonna
since
say maybe
2010.
Luna. Maybe
all right,
Luna.
we open up against Paraguay in 2 weeks
I'll be at that game.
at Inglewood. I was about to ask, are you guys going to that?
I
Yeah,
am going to the game.
Matt's at the Paraguay game.
No,
I mean, so Miles is at the Paraguay game. Matt will be at the first knockout stage, assuming the U.S. can win our bracket because we should against the three other teams in our bracket are just garbage. We got that home field, home. You know how
the group of life when you're the home field home
yeah,
country.
yeah, exactly. Thank you, Alex. So Matt will be at that first knockout stage, and then Samantha and I will be at the Spain first knockout because we didn't want to go to the USA game. So Samantha and I are going to the Spain. Well, there's a chance if Argentina gets second out of the group, it'll be Spain, Argentina, but then most likely Argentina will win the group. It'll probably be like Spain, Canada, or Spain, Korea. So we chose to forego the USA game, so we're not going to be at that one. But back to it really quick. I promise I won't be long. Is maybe besides Luna, there's nobody on this roster that I was like, wow, this person got snubbed, or wow, we messed up not taking this person. We're gonna really miss this person. Like the only thing I can argue is we should have probably left Turner completely off the roster, but in case we
I
go to
wish
PKs,
I was so shocked that we couldn't
he got
find a
the
better. I'm
yeah.
so
So anyways,
shocked we couldn't find a
blah, blah,
better
blah.
goalie than Matt
We-
Turner. But
so
finally,
we
he's
can-
benched. He's finally
He's
benched.
benched to freeze, so it's not going to be a problem. Maybe PKs. But anyways, my whole point is like this is actually the roster I would pick. This is actually the formation that I would want. It's just so relieved that we have an actual qualified coach and not one of the players' dad like Michael Bradley or Beerhalter being our coach.
Beerhalter
It's so
was-
nice to actually be a real fucking country
Yeah,
right
for
now.
once. This is
So,
this is the highest hope I've had since 2010, and I think
No,
this
even
roster
more
would
than
be better.
2010.
Well, it's a better
the
roster
highest
than
hope
20
I've had in my life since
Yeah.
30 years.
Yeah.
So, and we have the home field advantage. So, saying all that, it's going to be exciting. The one thing I will like to last conclude on, so I don't ramble on forever, is we didn't take the MLS players. Now, flip that to other teams, other countries. What did Brazil and Portugal do this World Cup? They took their home country's players. So Portugal has its own league, right? Spain has its own league, and America has its own league called the MLS. But we left off our homegrown players this one. Portugal and Brazil took 9 players from home field teams. So Brazil and Portugal are heavy favorites. Don't get me wrong; their starting 11 are still strong, but they're so thin this World Cup because Brazil took 5 guys from Flamengo and 4 guys from Nacional. Those are the 2 best teams in Brazil. That would be like us taking 9 players from like LAFC and the New York Red Bulls or whatever, and we took 9 guys.
Miami Inter.
Miami, sorry, thank you, you're right, Miles. Miami would have been a better choice, but we would have no chance with those guys. But Brazil, because they're Brazil, and Portugal, because they still have a chance. The interesting part to me is, don't mark my words right now. If Brazil and Portugal, who are top 5 ranked teams and deservedly so, I think Brazil's 3 and Portugal's 5. If they flail out, mark my words now, it's not going to be shocking to me because of the roster construction that they did. They actually had a MLS moment like America had, where it's like, hey, let's take some of our homegrown players instead of the ones who are playing overseas, like a Balogun or whatever. They did that with their rosters. Now, granted, their starting 11 are still world class, so I don't want to speak out too early. But yeah, mark my words here, guys. America is good, looking good. Brazil and Portugal, do not be shocked if they flail out.
You guys talked about the games you're going to. I need to give props to one of the league members. My sister Sylvie D has a hookup with some FIFA reps and got us tickets to the Argentina-Iceland friendly next week. So a week from today, I'll be watching that in Auburn at Jordan Hare, where Auburn plays. So I get to see that game. I'm not going to any World Cup games because it's way too expensive. But having a sister who works in sports reporting get me free tickets, I'll take that all day. So
Nice.
Yeah. I did have. Well, I was going to show the U.S. roster, but then I opened the U.S. page, and I like how the top story on the U.S. men's national team page is that Memo Ochoa was named to Mexico's team. Like, cool. Thank you for telling me about U.S. soccer.
Well, they know who their fan
They
base
know
is.
the demographics.
They know their demographics.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I know this player is. Like, he is fun to watch, and he's ancient, but,
He's also a great goalie, too.
Oh, yeah.
But he's past his prime, but still good.
Yeah.
Shows you what happens when you have a good goalie, unlike America. Sorry.
USA.
Yeah, USA. Any surprise teams that you have coming out of the group stages that you don't originally anticipate, Mitchell?
Senegal's so
Senegal's on my list too.
Senegal is everyone needs to watch Senegal. Senegal is just, what's the word, jerking around on USA in that friendly. If you guys watched a couple of weeks, they weren't even playing for reals. They were just like, they were trying like Olay stuff, like tricks and stuff, and they were playing out the back, which they want. Anyways, getting sidetracked. Senegal, watch them. That roster is no joke. That Senegal roster has 6 world-class players on that roster and 9 guys that are better than Pulisic. That team is loaded.
Since they expanded the groups and with more players now, obviously the group of death is a lot harder, but there's clearly one group of death, and that's with Senegal, France, Iraq, and Norway. The other team that I wanted to mention was Norway. Norway is kind of a long ways.
Holland?
Yeah, Holland's on that team. Their youth and their midfield it's fantastic.
Having the 4th best player in the world is not enough. You need more players.
Their midfield is extremely youthful. Their midfield is extremely youthful, and they have a lot of talent in their midfield there. Obviously, Holland's the one that's the name brand, has been putting the goals away. He's averaging 2 goals a game international, which is insane.
Yeah. Senegal feels like France's B team, though, Miles. Senegal feels like if France had a B team, that's Senegal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is I wouldn't say arguably. I would say the group I is the group of death, so I'm looking forward to that group mostly.
Who's another one that you have then? Not the main country. It's not a top 10 country, but is there another one that you have? Not Senegal, Miles? Japan's pretty good.
I was about to say Japan. I'd say Japan is a dark horse.
Yeah, definitely.
That would be my dark horse. I wanted to also say
you could say a top 10 if you really want. I was just saying,
I mean, I think if you're talking about top 10, who I really think has a great chance of winning it all is Colombia.
Because of the pride of South America and Diaz or whatever his name is.
Yeah, their team is, obviously other than Argentina.
He's going to have to score 50.
They got to get past Congo first, though, guys.
Yeah. Colombia's a good pick. I actually do like that, Miles. Diaz is going to have the greatest 4 games of his life. But
yeah. I really like Colombia.
So I'm going to go over this list, guys. This is ESPN's top 10 who they think have the chance to win. I'm going to go over the list first, and then you can discuss afterwards what you feel about it, okay? So at number 10, they've got Turkey, which is rebranded to Turkey A. Number 9, they've got Norway, he just talked about. Number 8, the Netherlands. 7, the defending champs, Argentina.
Yikes, that's too high for Argentina, in my opinion.
Brazil.
Yeah, it's too high.
5, the Germans.
Deutschland.
4, Portugal and Ronaldo. 3, the team that always finds a way to choke it even though they have the talent, England. 2, Spain, of course, and then 1, France. So
surprise.
Well, they got 1 and 2 correct. But that's about it.
Do you think?
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah, I don't really think these 2 are debatable. So we'll talk about the rest of them. I don't think 3 is debatable either, other than the fact they always choke.
No, 3 is debatable.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
You don't think they're top squad?
No, they are. I just don't know if I would put them ahead of Brazil, and who do they have at 7?
Argentina.
Argentina. Who's at 8?
High.
Yeah, they are too high. Who's at 8?
Netherlands?
Yeah, I mean,
Netherlands is also
I
really
kind
good
of
team.
like. Okay, so yeah, they're not too far off. I'd probably put England at 5 or 6. So I take it back. England. The problem with England
I would
is
leave
back
England
4.
at 3. I would leave
No,
England at 3.
their back 4 is so bad. People, if you start ranking these back 4s, what you need in a World Cup, that's the most unsung thing that people don't talk about. They always talk about your strikers and who gets these goals and everything. But
It
even
still
when
worked for them in Euro Cup. They almost won Euro. They almost won Euro Cup with that back 4.
England down is their defense.
their back 4 is even worse than it was 4 years ago, 8 years ago, 12 years ago. Yeah,
I'm
their
talking
strikers.
about 2 years ago in Euro Cup. They went in the finals and lost in the finals in Euro Cup. When they
Yeah,
should have
for
won Euro
sure.
Cup.
And they're okay. So I agree that their back 4 is serviceable, but I just wouldn't. I don't
I would
like that 3
I would
over.
go a step below. There's not serviceable. It's their biggest liability.
Yeah, it's their biggest liability. That's why I can't have them at 3. I mean, like you look at the back
Everywhere else, they have so much depth though. They have so
for
much
sure.
depth on the top and the mid. Their goalies, they're all good.
Agreed. Agreed. England's got some of the most depth for sure. Not arguing that, but your starting back 4, man, look at the Spain's and France's starting back 4, and that's like England can't even swing at the knees compared to those. Like
Yeah,
England's comparable back 4 is Argentina with like a Otamendi and Di Michela's type stuff. That's terrible.
not
Stones is
good.
going to be starting in the back there, Miles. That's not, you can't do that. Um, I do like, yeah, Portugal. They, like I said earlier, they and Brazil, what they did to their rosters. Yeah, Germany might squeeze their way in here.
Deutschland, go Germany.
Yeah.
I mean,
The
I will say I do think they're. Oh, go ahead.
No, you're good. I was just I think because of the uncertainty from 3 through 8, it just heeds more of a top heavy between France and Spain. Spain's got a midfield that they have.
Legendary
It's not even just legendary. They're 3 of the top 7, 8 players in the
players in the
world right
world.
now.
Yeah,
They have, and it's their midfield, and it's like Rodri,
everyone's
Pedri, and Xavi. That's like, or it's like you can't. That midfield is some of the best I've seen ever in my
ever, and this
life.
is better than
Yeah.
that 2010, 2014
I don't
team.
know. Iniesta, Busquets, and Xavi might be a little bit better, but the fact that we're even comparing
Carrying that, yeah.
Miles is like I thought I would never do that in my lifetime.
That's
Yeah,
why
I mean,
I have
for,
Spain.
and for those
That's why I have Spain winning it all. In my opinion, it's just
It
their
should
talent.
be.
and
Yeah,
for
It
those
should
who didn't
be.
recognize
be.
all those names and know what they're talking about, there was an 8-year period where Spain was the best team in the world, and those were the guys
Yeah,
that centered that team. They won Euro Cup, World Cup, Euro Cup back to back to back.
and it should have been another World Cup,
And
but
then
yeah,
It
Germany
should have
won in
been another World Cup.
2014.
yeah,
Germany
but
won.
Germany stole that.
Yeah, first
That,
team,
that
first
was that
European team to win in
7-1,
South America. Yeah,
7-1 win against Brazil and then
Brazil.
stole the
For
final. So
shellac.
yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So, but yeah, thank you, Alex, for the context. I can't believe I'm saying it, but the midfield is equivalent to that midfield of what they had in 2010. And
Yeah,
so yeah, if you took and then the only other opposite, Miles, is Tchouaméni is not playing that well for France in their midfield. So it's fascinating to know how top heavy those two countries are. And I hate doing this. I always hate being like, oh, it's the number one projected. Take the chalk or whatever you want to call it. But I truly feel that this World Cup, those two teams are
the
a,
best
I, I,
step above.
yeah,
I got to disagree because I think there's one other team
sure.
that I think should be there, and I think it's a pretty they're being overlooked. It's an egregious error. I think the team that should be one on this list is number 22, USA, USA,
USA,
USA,
USA,
USA.
Yeah,
I think they
yeah.
should be top 15. I don't think they're 22 here. I think they should be
Imagine
top
our midfield being compared to Spain's.
15. Oh God,
I mean,
we would.
if we had Pedri, I've been saying, and Pedri is like 22 years old. I said this 4 years ago. I was like, if we had Pedri, like if he decided to be American and play for America, he'd be our best player we've ever had times 10, and probably for the next 20 years, we'd never get a player equal to that level for the next 20 or 30 years of our life. That's how good Pedri is.
Also, I'd love to know who wrote this article for ESPN. You get like write-ups about every team, and then Japan, Sweden, Switzerland, just like skip past them.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why you never trust
Croatia,
ESPN with
Ecuador,
soccer.
Uruguay, like just
I still stand by this. Never trust ESPN with soccer, and never
Yeah,
trust Lexi Lawless and Fox.
yeah, Alexi Lawless on Fox is
It's the
wild.
worst. He's the worst.
He's Stephen A. Smith. He's told to say
But
these
no,
things.
at least Stephen A. Smith is entertaining, and I like enjoy Stephen A. Smith as a person. Lexi Laws is like, oh God, he's still representing the U.S. Uh, puts a
Um,
bad name for us.
One thing to look out for is Julian Alvarez, the true number nine of South America, has been one and only Messi for the last 20 plus years, probably since 2007 or maybe even six, but definitely by 2008. And now there's a new number nine in Argentina and a new number nine that could be dominating the world. His name's Julian Alvarez.
Alvarez, yeah,
I'd be
Alvarez.
very interested in guys watch when you're watching Argentina this World Cup, watch their new number nine, the heir apparent to Messi. He is already 25 or whatever, I can't remember, so he's a little bit older than we like.
He's been around a little bit. He
Yeah.
was great in the gold, not the Gold Cup. What's it called?
There's Gold Cup, yeah.
Concave, yeah, Combo.
Ball. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm just trying to say, you're right, Alex. Everything's right. I'm just trying to say, I think this might be, like I said 4 years ago, that was Vinny Jr.'s coming out party. I think this might be Alvarez's
Vinny's
coming out
kid's
party.
name isn't Vinny Jr. He named him.
It was like what, like 16 years ago, the coming out party was for James Rodriguez, right? And then it was like there's always that one coming out party for that one star. I think this year it's either going to be the obvious one, which is Lamine Yamal, but he's already pretty established.
He's also
I
hurt
think,
right now.
yeah, he's also hurt. So I think this might be the coming out party for Alvarez, but we'll see.
So, by the way, do we just call Vinny Jr. Renzo from now on?
Renzo.
When we talk about him on the pod?
Dude, Vinny Jr. had a terrible last couple Champions League games, and I'd be interested to see how he plays. And then coming off of the Champions League PKs, where Arsenal goes an extra PKs against PSG and loses, those two people who missed their PKs, one's going to be playing for England and potentially starting. The other one is probably one of the best center backs in the world, starting for Brazil and Gabriel.
Yeah.
So very. I hope Gabriel has an amazing tournament to make up for that, and people just, you know what I mean? But it'll be really interesting to see how those two players rebound within a couple weeks of that catastrophic event. Poor Gabriel.
All right, boys and girls. That's everything. I think we've covered most everything in sports. Any final thoughts to say to the pod before the squad out there before we wrap it up here, boys?
Anyone wants to do any soccer bettings, hit me up. I'll be doing lots of soccer bets. I'll let you know
I'll
when I'm
come up
betting
with something.
on.
We got one more show before the World Cup kicks off. I'll come up with something between now and then.
Okay. Well, I meant like IRL betting, but yeah.
Pie bets. That's what we do with pod, man.
Yeah, pie bets.
It
we
also
could
lets me
definitely.
make little more crazy bets instead of like.
We should do something like where we take out like the top 8, 10 teams, and then we all have to like get behind a team.
Yeah.
And,
See. Okay. I see what you're
yeah.
saying. Yeah. Okay. We'll do something like that. We'll come up with something off
Or maybe
air.
we pick like 2 teams, like you do in golf or
Yeah.
something.
We'll come up with something off air. We have to pick like some squads and go from there.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, but yeah. Any final thoughts or any last topics? If not, we'll wrap this up. And it's been a long show, but that's because we have short shows for a while. So hopefully people enjoyed this one.
Yeah. Can't
Revenge
wait.
game against Paraguay, especially after
Revenge
our last.
game against
Yeah.
Paraguay. USA doesn't have revenge games. It's just we're happy to be back games.
Well, if you remember our last outing, we got a red card. Way got a red card in that
Yeah.
Paraguay game, and it was just that was a terrible game.
By the way,
Yeah,
Kane's already
wait.
up 1-0 in the first game.
Oh,
one
let's
of
go
the
watch
Stanley Cup
that.
Finals.
Yeah.
Also, that Drake London we were talking about earlier just landed a massive contract extension of 141 million.
Oh wow.
Good for him.
I did not see that either. That happened just now.
I mean, it's the top story on ESPN, so I imagine it happened today.
Yeah. Ooh, that's
Yeah,
a lot
this
of
was,
money
this
for
was,
Mr.
this was
London.
posted kind of right when we went live. So,
All right, well, I'm out. I can't think of anything.
Yeah, I can't think of anything either.
all right, well, boys and girls, thanks so much for being here. Thanks everyone for listening, and yeah, we'll catch you next time. We should have Mitch back again next week, hopefully, and then,
I will be here Tuesday.
and then who knows what happens after that. But say goodbye, everybody. Peace out. All right, boys and girls, what's cracking?
Not a whole lot. Miles, do you want to go play Valorant?